Hello and welcome to the Bear Naked YouTube channel. Today we're going to make a small, travel-sized jewelry box. I'm making this box at the request of a friend. She wanted something small that she could travel with and keep a couple rings, maybe a necklace, a couple other pieces of jewelry in one place. So she didn't have to worry about leaving them on a dresser in a hotel and then forgetting about them, or them falling off the dresser, getting lost forever, and being sad. So I just started with some paduak. I had asked her for the look of the box, like if she wanted a certain wood or color of wood. She wanted something reddish, so paduak was the choice. And I know there's other reddish woods, like bloodwood, but I hadn't worked with that before. I've worked with paduak quite a bit, so I was just more comfortable going with that. And I had a piece that I thought would work, but it didn't, so I had to pick up some more anyway. Which is fine. Just gave me a reason to go to woodcraft. But now with that piece of paduak, and all four sides cut, for the top and the bottom of the box, they're gonna be in dados, just kind of floating in the paduak. We'll see more about that in a little bit. But so here I'm just cutting about halfway through, so you have a nice kind of shelf there that the bottom would sit on. And then I flipped the piece around to do the same thing for the top. And the nice thing about making a box out of one piece of wood, you cut your pieces out in the right orientation, and then you have the grain that still flows across the piece of wood. You wrap the box up like this, and then you have a continuous grain pattern all the way around the box. Which with this piece, once I got finish on it, it wasn't as noticeable, but definitely with other boxes and other chunks of wood, you can really tell, and it's a really good aesthetic touch. So that if you're looking at like a corner of the box, you can just see the grain start and just wrap around the corner. And just visually, it's much better to see that than see grain get interrupted as it turns the corner. And that's why here, with laying out the miters on the corners, which took me longer than it probably should have to draw those lines on there and figure out which direction they needed to be cut. But when you do this, you want to sneak up on it so that you don't take off more of the wood from what will be the outside face of the box than you absolutely need to, because then you're gonna kind of interrupt that continuous flow. That's why on for each side, the short sides and then the long sides, you want to cut them each at the same time without changing the fins. As I cut the two short sides, now I'm cutting the two long sides, so I didn't have to reset the fence for each short one or each long one. I can make sure the exact same length, and I'm cutting right up to the corner without taking any length off of the piece. And once the miters are all cut, you can kind of see here, I didn't have the best angle on it, but the miter and then you can see the darker lines in the grain just kind of wrap right around. And then using the good old blue painter's tape to tape along the seam where the boards meet. And I just have a 4-foot level there for a flat reference face to make sure that the bottom of the box, when it all gets taped up, will be pretty much flat with minimal sanding required. And then just get a little bit of glue in there. And I didn't record cutting the top and bottom panels, but there they are. I did do it, as you can see here. And then just kind of wrap the box around those. Those, since they're still solid wood, you don't want to entirely glue them in place because they're going to want to expand and contract with humidity. So if you just have them kind of floating in there, trapped in because the box is wrapped all the way around them, they can still expand and contract, and they're not going to fall out because they're stuck in those grooves we cut earlier. And once the glue dried in the corners, the mitered corners is end grain to end grain connection, which isn't the strongest joint. So normally you want to reinforce those with splines. And since these joints aren't very big, I didn't want to put really wide splines in there. So I had some veneer, and it just happened to be the same thickness as this pull saw that I have, Japanese pull saw. So I just measured out and cut one saw stroke, essentially, spread throughout the corner, and then the veneer will get glued in there, and then the kind of long grain to long grain connection, even though it's not very much, it's still going to really strengthen that joint. And I'm pretty sure I saw or heard David Picciuto over at Make Something do this, and if you haven't seen his videos, I definitely recommend it. He does a lot of really cool stuff, and it's weird if you're watching my videos and you haven't watched any of his, if you like this kind of stuff. But I looked for a video of his that had it, because I'm pretty sure it was him that did it, but I'll link his channel down in the description. So if you want to check out some of his stuff, you definitely can. I couldn't find that specific video, but all of his stuff is good stuff. And then after getting the sides of the box all sanded smooth, getting those miter splines nice and flush with the rest of the box, I used the bandsaw to free the lid. Normally I would do this on the table saw, but the table saw blade is much thicker, and I didn't want to lose that much space in the box. So with the bandsaw blade, I could just get a nice thin rip all the way through it. And then it's just a matter of cutting down some purpleheart for the inside of the box. It's gonna essentially wrap around the interior, see in a little bit, but it'll stick up just a little bit, so there's some friction for the lid to grab onto, so you don't need anything to hold the lid in place, just friction will do it. You can see how it sticks up just a little bit above the edge of the box. And then you just gotta cut each piece, essentially to fit on each side. I was gonna miter these so they came to mitered corners just like the outside of the box did, but then when I cut this first short piece, I cut it too short, like it fit in there like that. So much for mitering them, because I didn't have enough of this purpleheart to try it again. But with that liner wrapped up, now I can go into Fusion 360 and start designing the ring holder that I will 3D print, and then this will go on one side of the box. I wrapped it in foam so that you could essentially wedge your ring down in there like you would find in a normal jewelry box. You just put your ring in there, but the foam holds it in place. And I went through, this is actually the second version that I designed. The first one is the one you'll actually see here in an upcoming shot. But that one, if the ring had any thickness at all to it after I put the foam on it, it wouldn't fit down in the slot, so it did no good. So after I took that one and then the one you saw me just modeling to Jeanette so she could look at them and just get an idea of which one worked better for her needs, because it's her box after all. And that one I was modeling there was the one that she went with because it had wider slots in it, and it had that bigger slot in the middle which would fit a wider ring, which she does have, so it just kind of worked out. And then with that 3D printed, I could get the measurement off that and figure out exactly where I need to cut the dados and the divider that I'm putting in the box that will hold that ring holder onto the side of the box it belongs to. And you can see the ring holder I have now that I'm about to drop into the box is the first version. That really only works if you have really thin band rings. It works really well for those, but like the ring I'm wearing, not a chance. But now that I had the interior of the box wrapped up, it was time to move on to the lid. And we don't just want a plain lid on there, that's no fun. She wanted to have a design, which you see stages of me drawing it out here, which is this fleur-de-lis with a W overlaid on top of it. It's a design she found online. I tweaked it a little because I had to resize it, but I took this piece of curly maple veneer, which is the same veneer that's in the miters on the corners, and cut the fleur-de-lis out, and then you can see the W here, which is some sort of burl veneer. I don't know for sure what type of wood it was. I just had it, and I thought it was a nice contrasting color to the rest of them. And cut them out with the X-Acto knife. I super glued the W down, but then I just put a nice, it's about an 1/8 of an inch thick layer of epoxy over all of it. And then I wiped on 2 coats of a mixture of 50% boiled linseed oil and wipe-on polyurethane. And that did it. These little boxes are really fun to make. There's a lot of variety you can do with them. Like here with paduak and purpleheart, you can change it up a lot by just, you know, swapping them. Do purpleheart on the outside, paduak on the inside. Get rid of both of those, do like walnut and maple. Those would be really good contrasting colors. So much variety, so many different uses for little boxes. And they're just fun, kind of quick projects to make. Relatively quick. I appreciate you watching the video, sticking around. If you want to see more of what we do, check out the videos on the screen. Otherwise, be sure to subscribe. Hit the little notification bell to make sure you get updates when we post a new video. And be sure to share it if you think others will like it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.